Let me ask you something. If Avengers Doomsday is still months away, then why are we already getting multiple trailers? What's the actual goal here? Because either Marvel is nervous, or they're running a very calculated experiment. And the more I think about it, the more it feels like this isn't just marketing for one movie. This might be Marvel testing the future of the entire MCU. Now this might sound like overthinking. Maybe it is, but hear me out. The real issue isn't Doomsday. The real issue is Secret Wars. If you know anything about the 2015 Secret Wars storyline, you already understand how massive it is. This isn't just another Avengers level threat. This is reality collapsing. Universes colliding. Entire worlds getting erased. And then Doctor Doom reshaping everything into something called Battleworld. That kind of story is not something you wrap up neatly in 1.5 hour movie. And that's where the Russo brothers coming back becomes important. Because if anyone knows how to structure a massive 2-part saga, it's them. They did it with Infinity War and Endgame. But even then, that story was relatively simple compared to Secret Wars. There were reports that the Russos originally wanted something much bigger in scale, possibly even a very long film. But from a business perspective, Disney doesn't love extremely long runtimes. Longer films mean fewer screenings per day, fewer screenings mean less revenue. And after the mixed performance of recent MCU projects, Disney is not exactly in a take huge risks mood. So if Secret Wars is too big for one film and too risky to stretch into one massive runtime, what's the logical solution? Split it. 2 parts, 2 release windows, 2 massive events. But here's the catch. Disney won't fully commit to a 2-part Secret Wars unless Doomsday proves that the hype is real. And that creates a huge problem. Because you can't wait for Doomsday to release before planning Secret Wars properly. These films require contracts, scheduling, story structure, pre-production, set design, and massive coordination with actors, especially if you're splitting it into 2 parts. You need to know exactly where part 1 ends and part 2 begins. You can't make that decision at the last minute. So what do you do if you can't wait for box office numbers, but you still need proof that audiences care? You test the hype. And that's exactly what those 4 trailers feel like. Notice something interesting. They didn't go all out. They didn't show every major character. No huge Doctor Strange moment, no big Spider-Man tease, no Hulk smashing something dramatic. Loki, arguably one of the most important multiverse characters right now, was barely highlighted. They could have stacked those trailers with insane reveals, but they didn't. Instead, they kept things controlled, almost minimal. That's not how you market out of desperation. That's how you measure brand strength. It feels like Marvel wanted to see how excited people would get, even without massive spoiler-level moments. They wanted to know if just the idea of Doom and Avengers was enough to generate chaos online. And when the trailers crossed insane view counts and Marvel publicly celebrated it, that felt like confirmation. Not just celebration, confirmation. They got the data they needed. If hype is strong, even with restrained marketing, then the brand still has power. And if the brand still has power, then splitting Secret Wars into 2 parts becomes a much safer gamble. Now, let's talk structure. If Marvel follows the Infinity War blueprint, then Doomsday will likely be Doctor Doom's movie. In Infinity War, Thanos wasn't just the villain. He was the protagonist in terms of momentum. He had a goal. He was moving forward. The heroes were reacting. Doomsday could do the same thing. Doom actively hunting. Doom actively manipulating events. Doom winning. And by the end of the film, the world loses. But here's where it gets bigger. In the comics, Doom doesn't just win. He rebuilds reality. He creates Battleworld, a patchwork planet made of destroyed universes, different territories, different rulers, different versions of characters. A godlike Doom sitting above it all. That alone cannot be rushed. Battleworld needs time to breathe. You need to explore how society works under Doom. You need to see variants, anti-heroes, villains ruling territories, rebellions forming quietly. That screams Part 1. Imagine Secret Wars Part 1 ending not with victory, but with a massive rebellion attempt that fails. Something so shocking that the audience feels unsafe. Because one thing Secret Wars cannot do is feel reversible. When Infinity War ended, it shocked everyone. But deep down, most of us believed the characters would return somehow. There was a safety net. Secret Wars cannot have that safety net. It needs a moment that tells the audience, no one is guaranteed survival. And if Marvel really wants to create Endgame level anticipation again, they need a cliffhanger that breaks the internet. Picture this. Secret Wars Part 1 builds up the rebellion against God Emperor Doom. The heroes gather, variants unite, chaos erupts, and in the final act, Doom personally kills Steve Rogers. Not a fake out, not a temporary sacrifice, a real loss, the symbol of hope taken down by the ruler of reality. That would instantly make Part 2 one of the most anticipated films ever. Now, am I saying this will happen? No. But from a storytelling standpoint, Marvel needs something that bold if they want to recreate that I can't wait another year energy. And financially, splitting Secret Wars opens even more doors. Marvel could place other projects inside the Battleworld era. Side stories, variant stories, character-focused films that capitalize on the chaos of that universe. Instead of one giant risk, it becomes a multi-year event. Which brings us back to the original question. Why drop 4 trailers so early? Because this wasn't just promotion, it was a test. A test to see whether audiences are still ready to show up for something massive. A test to see if the Avengers name still carries weight. A test to see if Doom can headline an era. And based on the response, it looks like Marvel might have gotten the answer they wanted. Now I want to know what you think. Do you believe Marvel is playing it safe? Or are they quietly setting up the biggest 2-part event since Infinity War and Endgame? And if Secret Wars really becomes 2 parts, what cliffhanger would you end Part 1 with? Let me know.